Summary of Peace Like a River by Leif Enger. Reuben, who is telling the story, doesn't breathe for his first 12 minutes of life and almost dies. Reuben starts to breathe when his father, Jeremiah Land, picks him up and tells him to in the name of God. Reuben says that this was the first miracle his father did, and he thinks that he was put on earth to see his father's wonders. Reuben is 11 years old and is shooting in North Dakota with his family. The bigger brother of Reuben, Davy, and his dad are not talking to each other. They see a single goose flying in the field, and Davy lets Reuben take the picture. After killing the goose, Reuben and his sister Swede talk about why Davy is mad. Swede says that Tommy Baska and Israel Finch, two high school friends of Davy's, beat up Davy's woman Dolly in the locker room. Dad, who cleans schools, got to Dolly just in time. It is tarred on the Land's front door when they get back to Roofing, Minnesota. It's hard for Reuben to breathe because he has asthma. His dad boils water and makes him a steam tent. Dad tries to explain in general terms why the door is coated, but Reuben still doesn't get it. After a few days, Reuben and his dad go to church in the evening. When they get home, they find out that Israel and Tommy took Swede hostage and then gave him back. The cops won't do anything when Dad calls them. Tin Lurvy, a wandering salesman, comes to the Lands for dinner the next day. Reuben is amazed that the small amount of soup his dad made is enough to feed everyone more than once. He thinks it's a miracle. That night after midnight, Reuben hears the back door open. When Reuben's bedroom door is opened, he hears Davy telling the people who broke in to turn on the light. When the light turns on, Davy shoots Israel Finch and Tommy Baska. There is trouble at work for Dad because his boss, Mr. Hallgren, the school director, sends Davy to jail and keeps Reuben and Swede from going to school. Mr. DeQuayar, Davy's lawyer, comes to see Dad a lot to talk. The time that Swede has is spent writing an epic poem about a cowboy named Sunny Sundown who is on a mission to kill the robber King Valdez. She tells Reuben one night that she can't kill Valdez when she comes into her room. Reuben doesn't get it, and he's afraid Sunny's story won't end right. When Reuben gets back to school, he sees Mr. Hallgren fire Dad in front of the whole class. Dad gives Mr. Hallgren a strange slap right after Mr. Hallgren fires Dad, and Reuben sees that Mr. Hallgren's face, which is usually red and angry from acne, is suddenly clear. Reuben can hardly stand how unfair it is that Mr. Hallgren got better while he still has lung problems. Davy's trial starts. Reuben knows right away that Davy has no chance. The proof points to the fact that Davy planned to kill Israel and Tommy. When Reuben goes to the stand to speak, Elvis, the prosecutor, gets him to say things that will be used against him. Reuben agrees with Swede's idea that night that they should bust Davy out of jail. But Reuben and Swede can't get out because Dad, the DeQuayars, and their coffee are blocking the door in the living room. But when Reuben wakes up the next morning, he finds out that Davy has gotten away. The cops put together a group to look for Davy, but they can't find him. At the same time, Dad gets pneumonia from working outside in the freezing cold. Martin Andreessen, a government agent whose job it is to find Davy, knocks on the door one day. Dad tells him that the family won't help him. They come to the door on Christmas Eve and tell Dad that Tin Lurvy died and left him his brand new Airstream trailer. Dad tells Reuben that this is the answer to his prayer for a way to get to Davy. August Schultz, a friend from North Dakota, sends the Lands a letter in January saying that Davy stopped by. To get food, Dad sells their things and loads up the Airstream. Then he, Reuben, and Swede leave for North Dakota. When they get there, they go see August and Bertie, his wife. August and Bertie tell the Lands everything they know about Davy. The Land family takes off in the Airstream the next morning without a map or a plan for where they are going. They only have faith that they will find Davy. After lunch, they stop in a park, where Swede sees Andreessen also there. During dinner, Mr. Andreessen bangs on the door and tries to talk to Dad, but Dad still won't help him. The next day, they stop at a gas station to get gas. The owner, whose name is Roxana, gives them beds for the night. It snows all night. The next night, Roxana takes them on a walk, and she looks stunning. In the middle of winter, she takes them to a lignite area that is warm. During the lunch, Andreessen goes up to Dad again and asks for help finding Davy. Once more, Dad says no. The next day, Reuben sees Davy riding a horse up a hill and knows right away that it's him. After running up the hill and following the tracks, Reuben finds Davy. Reuben gets on Davy's horse, and the two of them ride and talk for a while. Reuben wants to know where Davy lives. Davy agrees to show him later after at first refusing. Dad has gone out with Mr. Andreessen, Reuben finds out when he gets back to the house. Reuben is mad because he doesn't know why his dad would work with Andreessen. That night, Davy picks up Reuben behind the barn, and the two of them ride to a house in the valley. That's where Davy meets Mr. Walzer, a man with end-of-the-world ideas who is hiding from the police and has taken Davy in to protect him. Sarah Walzer is Mr. Walzer's daughter, and she is making dinner. Sarah stays quiet and doesn't join them for dinner. Later, Reuben finds out from Davy that Walzer is not really bringing Sarah to be his wife and that she is not Walzer's daughter. Reuben passes out during dinner and Davy takes him home. Dad tells Roxana the next day that he's going to court her. A few more times, Reuben and Davy go to the cabin together. These adventures at night make Reuben's asthma worse, so his dad calls a new doctor and gives him adrenaline. When Reuben goes downstairs in the morning, he finds Mr. Andreessen sitting at the table with his dad. Andreessen thinks he knows Davy well and says he'll call with news. Reuben thinks he needs to tell Davy, but Mr. Walzer doesn't seem worried at all that night at the cabin. It's been 2 days and Mr. Andreessen has now not called. Dad finds out that Mr. Andreessen never came back to his motel after meeting a man who was meant to lead him to Davy. When Reuben saw that Walzer was the person Andreessen had to be meeting, he told his dad that Andreessen was in trouble. To get to Mr. Walzer's house, Reuben rides with a group of people the next morning. After that, though, Reuben changes his mind and takes the posse in the wrong direction. As the posse goes down a steep hill, one of the horses falls and hurts its owner badly. While the police finally find the cabin, Reuben stays with the hurt rider. But all they find inside is Andreessen's hat. Roxana moves back in with Reuben's family at the end of February. A week later, Dad gets married to Roxana. They go to a farm. Reuben's breathing keeps getting worse. In June, a car pulls up, and Davy and Sarah get out. Davy had decided that Walzer shouldn't marry Sarah, so he helped her get away. He now wants Sarah to stay. But Davy knows that he can't stay because of his past. The family goes outside in the morning to say goodbye to Davy. But Mr. Walzer shoots Dad and Reuben while he's sitting by the granary. When Reuben wakes up, he is in heaven, or the old country. He's not hurt and can breathe. He meets his dad after walking through a field and an orchard. They run together to a cliff where they can see a big city. Dad tells Reuben to watch out for Swede. After that, Reuben sees his dad walk toward the city. Dr. Noakes, the doctor at Land's, tells Reuben that Dad shouldn't have died from his wound, but Reuben definitely should have died. When Reuben met his dad in heaven, he knew that Dad gave up his life so that Reuben could live. Reuben goes on, after Dad died, Roxana became their rock. Swede went on to write books, Mr. Walzer was never caught, and Mr. Andreessen never showed up again. Every year, Reuben goes to a shooting town in Canada, and sometimes Davy goes with him. Davy doesn't understand what Reuben means when he tells him what happened in heaven. Reuben admits that he has questions about what happened, but his faith is strengthened by his family with Sarah, whom he married. As for the reader, he says, make of it what you will.
About the author. Enger was born in Minnesota in the year 1961. Enger got his degree in English from Morehead State University. That's where he met his wife, Robin Reed. Enger worked for 16 years for Minnesota Public Radio after high school. He also wrote 5 mystery books with his brother Lynn Enger under the name L. Enger. Peace Like a River was Enger's first book written by herself. It won a lot of awards, including the ALA Alex Award for Best Adult Story for Teens. He lives with his wife and 2 kids in Minnesota.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.